Well, folks, it's time to kick it old school.
Well, hello there, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Miles and Crawford Variety Hour. Today we're going to just be talking about some offbeat news, maybe a couple of our Cheeto and Cheats tweets.
And other things that make us feel really good about ourselves. We know that we kind of want to do the follow-up where, we have a heavy one or two podcasts and we feel like episode 4 was pretty heavy on statistics, the feelings.
The shitty life of the average American.
So we feel like we should be able to offer you guys man, that was depressing as fuck.
Right.
Let's find something to laugh about.
Let's find some joy in life. Am I right, my friends?
There's so many joys in life that we aren't really expressing. Let's talk about Chris Christie. We were just speaking of him.
The fact that he did a press conference, he shut down as part of a budget, which was the second in the state's history, I believe. He shut the state down.
Because they can't compromise on a budget.
And so that closed down all the state beaches and whatever and whatnot. And so he decided to go ahead and have himself a day at the beach with his family, and then returned later for a press conference where a reporter asked him, "Did you get some sun today?" And he was like, "No." He denied it, and then he tried to justify it by saying that he had a house, that the governor's mansion or whatever is on that island, and so if you want to hang out on the beach, then become governor. Chris Christie's such a dick anyway.
And what's really sad is that a long time ago, back when Hurricane Sandy came around, I had small hope for Chris Christie.
Yeah, because he really cared about his people during that time.
During that time, he cared about his people. He cared about the president that he bashed for so long. And then him and Obama, there he was with Chris Christie, and he had already been bashed because of his weight and his looks. And then he bashed Obama, but Obama came up and they were like, let's be best buds. And they suddenly had this really cool little bromance for a hot second.
A very hot second.
And then Chris Christie was really Chris Christie.
Was that before or after Bridgegate?
I
want to say that was before. Because he really took quite the hit. New Jersey's a little famous for being a little mobby anyway.
Yep.
So, he definitely has some mob tactics about him. I'm sure he also has mob connections that cause him to, do some of the things and use some of just kind of like Trump. He's a big bully.
Yeah.
He tries to bully his way, and that kind of cracks me up about Trump, the fact that he's just now learning that he can't just bully his way as he's used to in his life. And it kind of cracks you up when you see we do have some politicians, some judges out there, some senators who are starting to push back, which
it's hilarious.
Very proud of our governor of Ohio, Governor Kasich.
Yeah. Kasich, he's still a douchebag, but
it's CH at the end, alright? Everybody leave me the fuck alone. I've never been very impressed with him, but he just passed our state budget, I believe it was.
Yep.
But he vetoed the Medicaid freeze because he said if we veto and it was to freeze the eligibility requirements so that it was going to make it harder for people to get on Medicaid, but also had a provision to if anybody who lost their Medicaid coverage wouldn't be able to get back on it.
And I will give him that. He was maybe he's finally getting enough phone calls, faxes, and being annoyed as shit by the resistance and all the others.
What he said was he was like, I absolutely cannot approve that because in his estimation, 500,000 Ohioans would lose health coverage. And he said, and a lot of those people are single mothers, elderly, the truly sick, and drug addicts. He's like, we already have cold locker storage for our drug. He
knows.
But that was so human of him.
It's so weird when they come out of their fucking their shell. I'm like, yo, look at you. You put some skin on those fucking skeleton bones, didn't you?
I rather would have had him. It's such a travesty because I think this was our first episode where I mentioned that there were 16 candidates the GOP put up, and because
Trump won.
You know why he won is because he got so much free press that he drowned out everybody else in their arguments and whatnot because
he bullied his way through it.
Yeah, he bullied his way and he stole all the press coverage, and so a lot of the Republican constituents never got to hear from anybody but the crazies.
Yep.
Trump, Ben Carson. There was a third one that was real
Talk about Carly? No, she wasn't too crazy. She was a little weird.
She was a little weird. She's a little bit extreme.
I mean, thank goodness it wasn't Sarah Palin again.
Woo! Jesus Christ.
Man, she was fun, though. She's fun.
She is fun, and I actually, when it was Obama and McCain, I was really torn in between the two because John McCain is actually a pretty great senator for the most part. Even though he's a Republican senator, he stands up for the American people. He does. Not, to me, when I see how he talks, he doesn't talk as a Republican. He talks as he's country before party. I
think that John McCain is the much more militarized version of Joe Biden.
Well, Uncle Joe.
Dude, Uncle Joe.
I would live for a shoulder rub from Uncle Joe.
We miss you, Biden.
Biden, I need a shoulder rub. I'm not joking.
Like, seriously, bro.
If you're on a boat somewhere listening to weird podcasts and you hear us, we're in need of your shoulder grab, buddy.
I'll take you for a good hamburger. I can't afford much, but I'll take you for a hamburger and a good shake somewhere. I promise. He ate at Wilson's, didn't he? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so shout out to Joe Biden for eating at Wilson's.
He came out, I think it was the 2008, I think it was the first election that Obama did that passed through. And I think he had a piece of pie at Wilson's, matter of fact.
That's normal, right?
I think so.
Okay, we're just looking at our screen. I want to make sure that this looks normal.
Oh, see? But when you get up super close, hey. Do you like my voice? Do you want us to do a sultry edition?
We should do.
What
would it be like to call in on a 1-900 number?
Bedtime stories.
Could I make money doing this all day?
All right, everybody, here's our first story for the night. We should do the nighttime version. It's just a half-hour quick show of us telling stories to people.
We should do like a Rocko's Modern Life and sultry version. Like we should get like the script from Rocko's Modern Life because it really was a great show. Like that, and it was dirty, and it was Rocco who worked at the 1-900 company.
Yes, it was.
And so, I mean, he had a day of being on the phone all day long making women happy, which was like awesome. And then he went home to his heifer friend and his dog. Like, it was ridiculous. And I would just love to read Rocco's Modern Life.
Rocco's Modern Life.
It's very sexy low voice here.
Very low voice. Like, all right, everybody, go ahead and relax because we're about to take ourselves on a journey.
And breathe.
We'll have like some waves crashing in the background.
It'd be so nice.
Look, I'm even starting to kind of listen to it. I'm about ready to nap.
All right, so back to our shitty.
The rest of this podcast is just us snoring.
I don't know whose number that is. We're just
somebody just called Miles and they're not even right.
I mean, it's like a legit Finley number, so that makes it semi-awkward. I don't know what to do with this.
You know what? If it's important, they will leave a message.
Yeah, I think I have enough voicemail space.
They'll call back.
You know, they will. So we had been talking for about 15, 20 minutes what we're doing this podcast about. Therefore, we don't have a whole lot of idea what we're doing this podcast about.
Now, I went ahead and pulled up some offbeat things that I was reading, and I'm not going to delve into the articles themselves too much. I think the headlines speak for themselves and probably what people have already seen. First of all, doctors warn against the new trend of women putting glitter in their vagina. Ladies,
what are y'all doing?
Okay, first of all, I saw a picture of, like, gooey glitter on somebody's fingers who I think had, like, crushed it and was showing. You do not need to glitterify your vagina. It's fine how it is, okay? It's fine. It's cool. And I can guarantee you it's not... roast beef, whatever you got going on down there. It's cool, dude. It's not getting that much face space or publicity or anybody's looking at it long enough to care about the glitter. That's just like, do you remember people doing the vajazzle? Where they were doing the gems on their pussy? Whoa, no. Did I miss that whole aspect of life? Vajazzle, girl. You can get it's like a bedazzler, but for your hoo-ha. Like, you could get it above it, like where your hair should be instead. And so, yeah, that was a thing there for a short minute. So, like, just a shout out that these little glitter eggs that are going around and people think are cool. Listen, you don't know, first of all, what's in them. And if you're going to put something in your body internally, you should probably not put glitter. Because you're putting serious chemicals inside your lady parts. And you want those to work well for a while. Because lady parts are awful. Let's see here. What else? Oh, we did already talk about Chris Christie on the beach. That fat whale. Speaking of vajays, that's what that was. That was my reminder appointment. Oh, look at that. We're talking about vaginas. Miles just got a reminder that her vagina needs we need a good chicken. She needs a lube and a blowout. You know, I need my stuff flushed. That's how I do. When I go to the OBGYN, there's like, so it's always full. There's always women needing to get their hoo-haws poked, which great. That's great, you know, women's health. But I walk in there and I'm real loud and I'm like, hey, I'm here to get my tubes checked, my lube done, jacked up. Because that's how I feel when they stick that thing in you and they push it apart or what, you know, what the fuck that thing called that they use? It looks like a duck.
The middle quacker. That's what I call it, the middle quacker.
I know the name for it, but I can't. Anyways, women know what I'm talking about.
Y'all know
out there,
the cold, deep, weird, like
you can't relax or uncoil for the rest of the day because somebody has literally like took a car jack into your vagina and ratcheted it open. I'm serious. You ever had them ratchet that shit open and then they take this
and men, they're like, hey, some doctor had to stick his finger up my butthole for like 30 seconds.
You've
like, shut up.
You've never had your vagina jacked open like it's a wheel.
Yeah, you know? Like, I mean, legitimately.
And then had somebody with a spotlight on their head, like, shining a light into your cave, like, hello, hello, hello. I hope one day that there's something inside there that echoes back, like, what do you want? Get out of here. I hope there's a troll that lives in my vagina. No, I'm just joking, because I like the penises in there. And I don't want anybody to be like, I want the troll to get my penis. It's attached to your body. It's just going to tug it a bit. Calm down.
But that's kind of what the IUD is for.
Right.
Is like, because those little, the IUD, if anybody's had one, that's the one that you stick in your arm, because that apparently is a cool thing to do now.
Yeah.
Bitches, y'all are so lucky.
Norplant or whatever.
Yeah. Like, I'm not sure how I feel about it. But, I mean, the IUD is the IUD, and there's all different kinds of forms of it. And, however, I mean, you literally have these little metal wires, that, you know, if not in the right place, they can do some damage. So, I mean, I feel like, where is that? That's in Africa, where the women have, like, the condoms, where if a guy goes into it, it holds on to that shit. It rips it apart. Good for you, little rapists.
I love it. You
bitches.
Go, girls. I'm just tired of, yeah. I could go on and on.
We could go on and on about all kinds of ways about the female body, but you may all not want to hear all day about that. So we're going to go on to other great things. So other great stories there, Mrs. Crawford.
So there's this wonderful website that I have been visiting since it started in 1994. Probably founded around 2000. It's called the Darwin Awards. And it's basically get somebody an award for dying in one of the stupidest ways you can possibly die. And so one of my favorite ones is the guy, originally I thought it was the guy who developed and created the Segway, but it was actually the guy who bought the company, drove right off a cliff on a Segway. And I was just like, I don't even know how to feel. I mean, woo! So, there's this but they have a website, and you can get on there and read, about some of the stupidest deaths that people find, and it has a large following, so, you know, there's always new ones being updated. Have you ever seen the movie, The Darwin Awards?
I have not.
Oh my god, it is a very obscure film. I highly recommend it. It is so darkly funny. I mean, it's so muted.
Well, the humanity in general, I mean, we really come up with some shit, all right? Like, we really, like, you get any one of us drunk enough off of a certain liquor, there are certain things that we believe that we can do. Everybody has their vice, you know? Everybody's like, dude, I'm good. I can drink whiskey all day. I'm like those comedians who get up on stage, I can talk. I might be a little sorry after so long. But at some point, it's my good liquor. Now, however, you give me some, like, Goldschlager. Definitely if you get enough Long Islands in me. I'm pretty, like, there are some things that I am invincible. I mean,
I don't drink a whole lot because I don't like who I am. I mean, I'm funny and I have a good time, but I tend to not know when to stop drinking and be that fun. And then
well, that's why I stuck to whiskey, because whiskey was the one liquor that I knew I could get, like, I get pretty drunk on. I might get a little dancey, a little, like, talkative, shocking, but that's it.
Melt down into, like, a blubbering mess, and I run off.
That's red wine.
And I just, I don't like to be like that. As a bartender and somebody who's waited on enough drunk people, I know how that looks.
That's
especially to a sober person, and I've embarrassed myself a few times.
When you get to do the walk of shame before you even know it's the walk of shame, you know?
I'm proud to walk my shame. I'll carry my dirty panties in my hand. That's right, motherfucker. I'll walk home. It's got the shit pounded out of my pussy. I gotta walk it off, you know? My pussy's hurt, and I need to get some
air on that. I always really enjoyed that How I Met Your Mother episode when that was like a whole episode about like the walk of shame, the after Halloween party, and everybody's out there in like their half-assed like Halloween costumes, but it's like the day after Halloween. Like there is no more use.
If you've ever worked a morning shift at a breakfast place,
you have seen it.
You have seen people come in with their makeup's half down their face.
Yep.
You can tell which side they slept on. Half their costumes hanging off. They want some greasy eggs and bacon.
Right. Now, speaking of morning regret, bad gynecology appointments, and Darwin Awards.
Yeah.
We have decided that it is our time to roll out the Chief, Cheeto, and Commander.
Yeah. You know, we have really tried to steer away from Trump only because
there's so many of you talking about him.
And honestly, like even thinking about it makes me tired. But we wanted to go ahead and just highlight anybody that's trying to ignore the news. Please stop doing that first of all and be involved, because this is how things happen in our country and laws get passed because people just turn a blind eye. I don't care about politics. Please care. And I guess, honestly, anybody listening to this probably, they don't care about politics, so that's the problem, is, you know, all the information that those uninformed people need or whatever, they don't follow those news sources or those entertainment venues. So the only people that hear these things are people who are like-minded like us. We're not changing fucking minds, and that's what bugs me, is we can't get that information and knowledge. And I'm talking about true facts, not just my opinion forcing it on you, to these people. Like, no,
I like
this
to be
is
proven
reality.
wrong. Even though I'm a woman,
right,
even though I'm married and a mother, I will still enjoy being proven wrong.
The right knowledge.
Yeah.
I don't want to just spout off. That's why, like, you know, a lot of times I feel bad. I re-listen to our podcast, and I'm like, dang it, I don't know if that's a fact, actually. And I don't want to sit here and spout off what I think is right, and then that gives somebody else that fact. So, you know, blah, blah, blah.
And, you know, and I think that we do a pretty good job of letting our listeners know, hey, we've got, like, our last podcast. I mean, we had pulled a lot from Wiki. We noted our sources while we were talking.
We always try to say, as I recall, this isn't verbatim, or this might be a detail or two off.
Yeah, we're always very knowledgeable that we aren't spewing facts. I am not a librarian. I am not somebody who has... I like to read, but I like to read for pleasure and things that make me go into La La Land for a little while.
I like to read too.
I mean, I like good books. I don't care whether they're, you know, autobiographies or whatever they might be.
I will read just about anything. Romance novels I cannot get into. However, I do like the Gone with the Wind. I read that book and I personally love it. And I read the follow-up one to that, which I can't recall.
See, I like really weird, deep sea stuff, but that's just who I am. I get some really weird, deep sea things.
Are you really into the deep sea, huh?
I mean, just deep seated, like.
I thought you say deep sea.
No, I mean deep sea could probably be really cool. Well, I like more of like sci-fi. You know, I've been introducing a lot of my friends this summer to Neil Gaiman. I'm a big fan. I really like all his books. If you haven't picked them up, like, I don't know, Stardust, Good Omens, American Gods. There's just a name, Coraline.
He's a very good author.
He's a very great author, and I love him. And I like his stuff. I liked reading the whole Dexter series. I also enjoy, like, This Heart of Darkness, Clockwork Orange. I mean, just go ask Alice. I mean, those are some of those. Those are just good. I will
books. Read just about.
But I will, like, pick me up some Jon Stewart, America. You want to pick me up. You know, some Chelsea Handler. I'll literally read a little bit of everything.
I do tend to read a lot of life stories, I guess you would say. I read a really good story, J.C. Dugard, when she was found after, 18 years in captivity, and she had a couple kids. You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
She wrote
Crazy
a book,
story.
And I read her book, and that was some heartbreaking shit. I don't know how she'll ever work through that, but...
kudos.
But she survived some real... very just horrific. But I've read some very weird, like I read Tina Fey's book, Bossy Pants, I think it was called, which she had like man hands on and that was really good. I'd love to write a book like that because I like books like hers who they don't really have a point. It's mostly a collection of her life stories and you know, like how that affected her. But they tell it in like a timeline, so you know it does kind of
make sense,
right?
Well, I think that's why I've always been like a big I
like reading about other people's experiences in life.
Right?
I love human behavior, and
it's so interesting.
That's why I'm really into true crime.
I remember when I'm nerd alert for like the 19th podcast. No, I'm kidding. 19th time within our podcast, but I've read every titties fall out. I've read all of Tom Brokaw's books. I'm a big fan. I'm a big Tom Brokaw fan. He's got a way of telling stories of other people, probably because, you know, he was an amazing journalist, so that always helps. But also, like, his own perspective. A Long Road Home was really good, and obviously, The Greatest Generation, The Greatest Generation Speaks. Those are really, I mean, the way he told them was phenomenal. And I also was a really big fan of, I loved the TV show MASH. But Alan Alda actually put out a lot of really good books, and
I love Alan. I love his voice. First of all, I love the fact that when he does voiceover work,
it's so great. And he did his very first book I read was called Never Have Your Dog Stuffed, and it was literally
that's an interesting.
And it was about like how you know, he grew up in the acting industry. You know, his father was a big actor, and how he kind of grew up like. You know, it's bedtime and he has to go to school, but he's sitting in with a bunch of like showgirls and his father at 2 o'clock in the morning in a bar. You know, but so he had this really weird childhood, and his mom was a little bonkers. But Alan lost his dog, and his parents were so concerned about how he was going to react to the dog's loss that they had his dog stuffed and in the house.
That's just creepy.
And so, but it was like your parents unwilling to let you let go.
Right.
You know, and so there was a lot of comedy. Alan Alda is a very funny man. I mean, he wrote that one. He wrote my personal favorite, which is Things I Overheard While Talking to Myself. And it really is. You all know that. You're in the kitchen, you're having conversations in your head out loud, and you kind of come up to your own great conclusions, and that was his. And it was they're all very good, they're all very meaningful, they're insightful, and they're very funny, you know.
I've never read any. I didn't even know that he had wrote any books, and so now
they're great. You should go find them.
I'm going to now. Because
don't read like the early 80s stuff. I have not read any of his early 80s stuff, but from after or Never Have Your Dog Stuffed and on, there was Things I Overheard While Talking to Myself, and there's one more, and I can't remember the title of it right now, that I've read, and they're slam dunks. So anyways, back to lighthearted. Well, I think we are keeping it pretty lighthearted anyways.
Yeah.
Chino in Chief this week, outside of all of the weeks of his kabafe, is
just the fact that it's just a torrent of shit. What verbal diarrhea, but Twitter style. Our Twitter in Chief, and all of our other country listeners. It's so hard right now being an American and trying to be proud of your country when it's being led by this asshole.
Right. And he doesn't he has
no filter.
Quote unquote. My use of social media is not presidential. It's modern day presidential. Make America great again.
That's just sounds stupid.
I
mean, that's just ignorant. You can't convey a message to America in 140 characters. You cannot legislate. You cannot lead a country with 140 characters from your Twitter account. I'm sorry.
The fake and fraudulent news media is working hard to convince Republicans and others I should not use social media. But remember, I won. ...
I won. Don't forget it. You know.
Let's see here. Donald Trump, 1 day ago. Stock market at an all-time high. Unemployment at lowest level in years. Wages will start going up. That's all in parentheses. And our base has never been stronger. Your base has never been stronger while you have the lowest approval rating of any other president. And
he just ignores that. He's never addressed the fact that his approval rate. He's out campaigning still. Like he's still doing rallies and campaigning instead of leading. We don't even have a leader of a country. We have a bunch of people, and you know what's upsetting is Republicans are so desperate to win that they're willing to let this man destroy us in order to, we're just now seeing Republicans finally push back and being like, I cannot get on board with this.
Right,
And they've tried and struggled, and you kind of, I think paid public service congressmen and whatever, first of all, they should have the same insurance as the rest of us. you know how they get to keep their Obamacare, but we're getting Trump care.
Yeah, and Trump care is fucking vomit worthy.
I feel like people in Congress and you know, we have to pay for them to live there. I believe that they should have to live in what was it I saw somebody put common housing, you know, like housing.
Yeah.
For Congress, like dorms. You know, like that's where you should live. I think that we should go back to Congress being like let's say a living wage, you know, but an average American, so that we have more people who are doing it. You know, first of all, we need to get the money out of politics, but we need to pay. I think we need to pay Congress less, because obviously now people are just going into it for the money, for the kickbacks, for the benefits, for the.
Yeah, I mean, you might only get paid $178,000 a year to only work like 90 days a year
and get nothing done, but you don't pay.
But you'll end up walking out with $6 million in 4 years because of your kickbacks.
And that's how I feel. It's like we need teacher salary people, you know.
Get some education.
People who are truly passionate about the country, you know, but are also intelligent and knowledgeable about the laws and things like that. But we need people in Congress that are actually care about what they're doing, and not. And to me, it just seems like it's a very money making. It's a way to make money and get out. You know?
And that's exactly what it is. But I mean, according to Donald J. Trump, he's celebrating the 4th of July with a big crowd. Because it always has to be a big crowd at the White House. Happy 4th to everyone. Our country will grow and prosper. You know, I mean, this guy, he just, you know, he goes on and on about how the dishonest media.
He lives in his own reality.
I mean, he really lives in like this insane world. Crazy Joe Scarborough and dumb as a rock Mika are not bad people, but their low-rated show is dominated by their NBC bosses. Too bad. Okay, first of all,
who fucking cares about a morning show's ratings? I don't.
No.
I want to hear
Why
about
does the president of the United States give a shit about morning ratings? Why isn't the president of the United States caring about the people? Why
all
is
he does is watch Fox News?
I mean, what they say, like a fifth of his time, and he's only been in office for a handful of months, but a fifth of it has been spent on the golf courses
and schmoozing,
Mar-a-Lago, and get my buddies.
He cares about the title and the importance and the power, but he doesn't care about the job and
the
things that need to get done in this country.
I mean, of course, I'm hiring rich people because rich people know how to handle their money.
I wouldn't want a poor person in that position. You know what? Maybe you should, and then maybe we could get something done for the poor, because I know
they'd actually really work hard for their money.
All the people that he's hired are billionaires, and they're his age. And I'm just so tired of this country being led by those people. That's what got us where we were before Obama came along.
Yep. It's doing us no good. No good. But anyways, our president's an idiot. That's how I feel about it. I mean, I'm sure, you know, he is who he is.
I mean,
I can't stop him from being who he is or the money that he owes to Russia. But at the same time, like, we all know about Blackstone.
To Blackstone and Bayrock Group or whatever.
Yeah, you all should really look into that.
It's like owing money to the Russian mob.
Yeah, but I mean, why would you have to owe money when you can just tell the investors when to invest and what you'll do for them to make sure that they get their money back? I mean,
we're not going to get too serious, but
he's going to sell us. He's going to sell us to everybody.
Everybody, and then we're going to be like China, living in little itty-bitty apartments on top of each other.
Yep.
You know, I mean, I love that Obama stayed quiet for like the first 3 months. You didn't hear anything from him, no comments on Trump or whatever.
He was trying to see what he was going to do.
And he has not badmouthed him, but he has started making speeches where he's like, you can't give up everybody. And that's what I miss about Obama, was the fact that his speeches were beautiful. You know what I mean? Like it made you feel like, yeah, you know, that's what we need to do. We need to care about each other. Not to say that he was a perfect president. Don't get me wrong. Obama did have his faults, and there were some things that I disagreed with him on. But I wish that he would have been given the full opportunity to do what he wanted to do, just to see, like, we give all the other past presidents that opportunity to take the vision. He was voted president twice. We gave Bush
more of an option, and the laws that he put into place, knowing how wrong they were, and we still stood by them before we would stand by any of what Obama was doing. And, you know, Crawford over here is completely correct. Like, yeah, there was a lot. I know that Obama did a lot of bombing. I know that there was a lot of wars that he, you know, participated in behind the closed curtains. I am not putting that man on some pedestal. I actually don't put any of our presidents on some kind of pedestal. I know at some point that their job is shit, and it's hard, And I will, like, I love the Kennedys, but I also know that they have, I mean, every president has they all have it. I get it.
I think the only untouchable is FDR. I swear to God, if any of you ever badmouth FDR anywhere around me, I will punch you in the microphone. No, I'm just kidding, but seriously, he was FDR, great. When I was younger, I was really a big Kennedy fan, and then I started reading about FDR and the Second Bill of Rights, which I think we really should talk more about and bring that back to focus, where people have the basic right to food, shelter, medical care. I can't remember exactly, because, you know,
so many things would have changed if we would have quit trying to erase what was.
Right. You know, liberal.
Modern day presidency doesn't mean that it's right.
Notice, right. You know, there's been a turn towards where they're trying to vilify Democrats and liberals as being violent and riotous. And no, you're trying to quiet us, and we're not going to put up with it. You know?
Well, exactly, because I'm a big advocate. I'm not
tolerant of intolerance.
Yeah.
I'm fucking sorry, but you're gonna hear me bitch and moan about it.
Yep, that's how it's gonna be.
Right.
Yep. And I think that it's, you know, they've at least slowed down on that snowflake word they love throwing around for about an entire year, and I feel like it has slowed down quite a bit. Now I think more that they slowed it down because the liberals and the Democrats started to own their snowflake. They started using it as a way of life.
They're the ones that are so fucking offended all the time.
Oh my God,
everything.
so offended.
Oh, you're a snowflake. You can't handle nothing but, oh Lord, somebody deface the statue of Jesus. Those liberals. Trash, blah, blah.
You gotta put, you know, look, I'm not down in anybody's religion. Believe what you want to believe. Do what you want to do. I'm not here to tell you whether or not you should go to church. Like, I don't care. Believe what you want to believe as long as it doesn't kill or harm other human beings. And you'll sit there and say, well, I mean, then how can you be a pro-choice advocate? Like, I'm not, like I said, I'm a pro-life, pro-choicer. That's who I am. I understand that it is all circumstantial, because as is life is circumstantial, and you take evidence like any good human and or what scientists, is why I kind of love the scientists on a lot of levels, is that you take what's given to you, you believe what you need to out of it, what makes you a good person. Sometimes you get things that are thrown at you, and you realize that maybe your progress, your thoughts, your whatever is incorrect, and then guess what? You move on. You were wrong. You re-educate yourself, and you go on with your life. Like, and quit saying, well, no, because 5,672 years ago, or whatever the fucking grand number is that you all are coming up with every day about when the earth was created, when Jesus was here, when all the look, we don't need Jesus or God to have good morals. You know what you have to do? You have to look at somebody, treat them the way that you would want to be treated, and go to work with your head held, your head right there held high. You go there, you do your job, you go home, and you take care of your family. And when you can't do all that, you take care of yourself. Like, just take care of each other. And if you see somebody in need, fucking help.
Seriously, we always circle back to politics, because it has such an effect on our daily lives, what's going on every day with the tax cuts and everything. This is going to hurt us personally on a personal level. All the policies and everything. We don't get welfare. Miles and I are, I guess, what you would call upper lower class.
Yep.
We have just barely enough money to survive and have cars and basics. But we don't have enough money to save back for anything.
No.
So we're not struggling. We don't get public aid or whatever. But the policy, we are like right there where we're the highest taxed.
Yep.
Proportionately. We pay the most and we hurt the most. And so when we talk about there is no middle class, there are the lower rich folks, the middle rich folks, and the super rich. And then there's just
homeless or like semi-decent.
We're like at the top here, There's people, I guess I do see people my own age who their parents were a little bit smarter than mine and gave their kids a better advantage than I got.
Yeah.
So, I do have friends who own their own businesses and homes on the lake, but their parents helped co-sign their first loan or bought them their first car.
Or they were able to get their college going through, so they got a little and have the right jobs.
Right, but people like
and
us.
We're not mad at you. Thank you for having the good life. And we're not even saying that you have the great life. Thank you.
Right,
we're proud of you. We're jealous, okay?
We're just jealous, right? Like, not everybody
jelly.
Gets started off at the same level.
Nope.
Some of us, so it takes, I would love to own a house, and there are tons of empty houses in America. Therefore, I don't know if this statistic's still true, because I've been seeing a lot more people buy houses, but there for a hot minute there were more empty houses than homeless people in America.
Yeah, it's something like stupid where we could give like every homeless person like 26 homes.
Yeah.
It's something that's really, it's really ridiculous.
I mean, and if you drive around wherever you are, and I know that not everybody's in America, and I apologize that I don't know the economies of every other country, but if you drive around like this town or the town that I live in, you look around, you can see empty houses with paper in the window, and you always know the paper in the window is a foreclosure.
Yeah.
There are so many empty houses around us and we just recently applied for a mortgage and then we were turned down. They were like, nope, absolutely not.
Dude, we would be so slammed to the ground of no's right now.
Well, what about like
we hit the lottery like 2.5 years ago when my credit was actually better than Andrew's for once, and we were sitting pretty, not great, but we were sitting pretty for a while, and it wasn't perfect by any means, but we were sitting pretty for just enough time to get in that really great small gap. Like if we had applied 6 months prior and got turned down.
Yeah.
And I think if we had applied 6 months after, we had literally found like the most perfect time to have gotten pre-approved for a house.
Yeah.
If not, we would still be renting. And then that's okay with me. There's nothing wrong with renting. I mean, there's
a pain in the ass, though.
It is a pros and cons to it, by all means.
You can't, it's very hard to find a good landlord, first of all, that's not in your yard every other day peeking in your window. Or being anal about you leaving something out on your porch. I mean, you have to live under somebody else's law how they want you to live in their house. Regardless, even though that's supposed to be your property, that you rent. And here's the thing is, why can't I wish that, I've been paying my rent for 16 years now, steadily. Why can't I use that as a credit reference for mortgage? If I can pay my rent every month on time, then why can't that be considered for mortgage?
I've always believed in that. I say, I might be behind on bills.
House payment. That's my house payment. I do pay my house payment every month, but it's a rental. Do you think that it would be, if I'm that able to do that when it's something I don't own, don't you think I would be more inclined to make sure I make my mortgage payment every month because I own it, it belongs to me?
Well, and I was talking about that about 2 years, maybe around the same time that me and Andy were buying our house. I was talking to a friend of mine about, them buying a house, and they weren't quite ready just yet. But at the same point, we were talking about it, I said, think about how much money that an average family spends on rent. So you're talking, let's say, in our town for now
they're pricing the poor out of Finley.
They are pricing the pour out.
They want you to come wait on them, but they don't want to see you.
Yep, exactly. But now this house wasn't grand, but it was a nice little ranch style house. It wasn't an alley. The neighbors were pretty close, but you still had a bit of a yard and kind of privacy, but not really. Anyways, lived there for 10 years, I think. You're talking, I think it was like $700 or $800 a month, which wasn't bad because it was a 3-bedroom, 1 bathroom, had a yard, whatever, decent neighborhood, whatever. 10 years, all that money right there, all of that money was put into something that there was no investment in. A house is an investment, and renting is nice because you don't necessarily have to do your lawn, depending on the contract.
Renting has its
no water, trash,
especially if you move a lot. Say for your job, you travel, you're in one location for 2 years,
or you don't know what you're doing with the rest of your life. So it's good to have the option to leave.
Right. But when you're finally ready to buy a house, it is one of the hardest things to do in life is to get pre-approved and to get into a house. And I don't understand. That's such a basic necessity for people to have shelter.
I had to explain when we went in to buy our house. Like I said, credit wasn't great, but it was fair. I think we were both in the fair mark of credit scores. And I remember having to explain, written verbatim, not only to the person over the phone, but I had to have it written out, 3 different letters as to why I had 2 overdraws, a big account. And I was like, well, I mean, this is what happened. But, you literally have to write it out. Hey, by the way, I poorly planned. If you can see in 6 months, I overdrew twice. Over 2 poorly planned. But I corrected it, and these bills are caught up, and obviously you guys are trying to pre-approve me.
That's something that I harp on. I'm getting so tired you're not allowed to make a mistake in life. And that's not fair because you don't get a do-over. You don't get to replay the game. Life isn't a game.
No.
You don't get a redo, okay? So I'm getting real tired of this. Well, you can't take it back. Or, 2 overdraws, and I corrected it. Yeah, sometimes I go broke, and I have to overdraw my fucking account because this country sucks.
Well, and that's what I even explained in the letter. Like,
but I fixed it.
I knew that I was going to overdraw making this payment. My best bet was, instead of getting tacked $29 for the one payment, that I was just going to overdraw in a large sum so I could pay the payment on time, take a one-time fee of $29. Like, here's the thing, you're about to overdraw, right? Like, let's say that you have like a $300 bill, but you've got like $150 in there, right?
Right.
But depending on what your bank rules are, but like, or let's say you have like $150 and like $175, whatever the means are,
right.
But and you're like, okay, I got to pay these, but I'm going to end up overdrawing. These could get kicked back. I may not be able to make them. What you do, and this is not right, I don't care, but you go to your bank while you've got the money in there and you pull it. Because that way, at the end of the day, even when you're overdrawing, you're going to get one $29 fee. We've all been there. Not all. Okay, some of you guys are really smart, so I apologize that I'm not a good person maybe for you guys. But you pull it once, you get your one-time fee instead of finding out that
you just created a cascade.
Now you're $120 less out of your paycheck to make up for the difference. Like, my paycheck hits in 4 days, but this bill pays today or I don't have electricity.
Exactly.
So I'm going to pull out the cash. I'm going to pay it cash in hand. I'm going to have like $30, which would be enough to like fill my gas tank.
I've done that too.
Or there's literally no time left in the day for me there's no food in my house. I need to make dinner.
That's a good way to avoid payday loans too, honestly, because
those
are a trap.
I've been there.
Loan, I have too. I mean, there was like 2 years where we just couldn't get out of the payday.
Oh my God, they're just terrible.
The cycle. I mean, we just never. I think we.
Yeah, here's $500, and you're going to pay us back $1,500 in a matter of 7 months. Like, I mean, it's really ridiculous.
We took like a $500 one once, and we paid on it for a year and a half, and it was like $2,000, and it just wouldn't go down. And I finally. And it was weird because it just kept going up. Like, you have to pay the interest every week that you go back to pay on it. And then, but then you also have to pay a little bit more. So, like, I make an $85 payment, but 70 of it was just to keep it open for another week. And they would only apply 15 of it to my principal. Yeah. So, finally so I was screwed. Like, I have given you guys $1,500. This debt's settled. I'm not paying you anymore.
We're done. Like, we're so done. And there's at some point where...
I did. And I never heard anything back from them after that. And I can't get a payday loan through them anymore. But you know what? Fuck you. I borrowed $500 from you a year and a half ago. I paid you $1,500. I'm done. And you think I still owe you $400 that I can't pay you right away. So it's not even $400. It's the $80 I gotta pay on the interest, and then whatever I can pay over that for the principal. So I will never, like, Jason and I, we have gotten into a couple of spots where we're like, we should get a payday loan. I'm like, no. I was like, I will eat fucking rice cakes all week long to avoid taking a payday loan. No, it's not worth it.
No.
Never. Don't ever be desperate enough to take a payday loan, people.
And now, if you are, and if that ever happens...
Take the smallest amount that you need and pay it back as fast as you can.
Yep, because what people don't realize is that you have this...
It'll leech you.
It will leech you. And the thing is, what people don't understand is that, like, look, here's my thing. So let's say that you take out, like, a $600 pay loan. You obviously owe, like, $1,200. But... when you go back into those payday loans, you will find out that with the interest, if that you can pinch out one paycheck and you sit there and say, you know what, for one paycheck out of the 2 paychecks you get a month, you're like, you know what, for like 2 weeks, we're going to have to like scrounge. I'm talking like scrounge. You scrounge. You get that down to as bare minimum as you possibly can, because we've all, like, me and Crawford have definitely been there, and it's not worth it. And what people don't understand is, why would you even apply for it the first time? Well, I mean, look, there's just sometimes where, for one, there's a shame thing to it. I don't want to ask anybody for money. I don't want to let anybody know how poor I am. I don't want to do this, but...
I can ask 10 friends for $10. I don't want to ask one person for $100. Be like, who should I ask?
Yeah.
And I sent him a message.
And there's also that feeling, too, that how have I never pay you back? And there's been plenty of times that I've borrowed money from, parents or in-laws, and I'm like, I will pay you back. And I have yet to get there. And I'm like, look.
I've paid off
I know one day I'll get there.
And I never forget people that I owe money, and that's always like one of my first priorities. And I have a list of people that's happened with where they were kind enough to loan me money and have never questioned me back. You know, like you got that $100 I loaned you. I mean, good-hearted people that know that you needed that at that time and know that you're good-hearted too, and that if you had that extra $100 to just hand right back to them, you would.
Exactly.
And that you'll get there eventually. And I have paid. I mean, I just paid a friend of mine that I'm not joking. I borrowed $150 from him 7 years ago, and I never forgot. It was to help pay my rent when I was sick and I couldn't work. And I had all of it but $150, and my landlord was a dick. And so I was like, man, I hate to ask you, but I don't know. You know, sent me $150, no questions. That was 7 years ago. He never once brought it up or made a snide remark or ever. And I had an extra $150, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna pay him back. And that's what I did. Was send it back to him on PayPal, and he actually had forgotten. He was like, what is this $150 for?
7 years ago.
7 years ago. Now listen, we're not gonna talk about interest because you forgot. You know what I mean?
But also, do yourself a favor, as a human being out there that's listening. Look, if you're going to give somebody money, also don't be the person who gloats about giving somebody money.
Oh my God.
And even if it's not, okay, so, well, I never mentioned it to them. Okay, but you mentioned it to like 300 people.
Right. Like, you know,
one time I loaned them money and then I saw them like go to the bar like fucking 5 months later. I'm like, dude, like don't do that. Like, do not loan money to people just so you giving somebody money is like when you're like having the extra $5 and you get that homeless dude, you're never going to give it back.
Right.
I give it to their friends. I get that you help them out, but don't be like, dude, like one time, like I helped this person out. And like, so now I'm going to completely like bash them. Dude, no, because you're a fucking dick. Like, don't be that friend. Like, if you're there to help somebody, help them and shut the fuck up and allow them to feel okay about it, or don't help at all because we'd rather you just not instead of talk shit about behind everybody. This one time, 4 months ago, I did this one thing and I never saw a dime. Well, then don't loan it knowing I can't pay it back.
None of
my friends have done that directly. I've just seen other people do it, so I'm going to give a shout out to the friends that I do have because anybody who has ever helped me out or family,
right?
Y'all have been really amazing and we totally love you. But I have seen other people do that where they have helped out others, and all I ever heard from them for 6. Oh my God. Oh, your Good Samaritan Act sucks because it's not a Good Samaritan job if you expect a return.
Now, my brother, all three of us, I actually have like 13 siblings altogether through marriage, step, half. I don't have a full.
That's a nice family.
I know. I have one younger sibling, and all the rest are older than me. And so. Some of them I didn't meet till later in life, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But there's 3 of us that were raised together that are my mom's kids. So we were raised together, kind of.
Yeah.
And so I have an older brother who, she was married to, and he's done very well for himself. And she only had one son with him. That's his only kid. And then she had me with, somebody else's husband, so I didn't have a real dad until I was like 27. The man that she married after that, who was my younger brother's dad, raised me. My older brother, I don't want to name him by name, but anybody who knows me knows who I'm talking about. His dad never remarried. He's always worked a really good job. He's very well off financially, always took good care of his credit, runs every day, healthy lifestyle. And this is the same brother that's been to prison twice. And so if it hadn't have been for his dad taking care of him and paying his fines and costs and everything that somebody has to do when they get out of prison to get right, he has done for him. And so my younger brother, his dad passed away, the guy that raised me. He passed away when I was 19 and my younger brother was 16. So my younger brother doesn't even have a dad. Oh. His dad has bought him a car and a house and provided everything that he needs. He's never had to actually work for anything. He has a job now, but he didn't for a long time. He lent my younger brother doesn't have a dad, and our mom doesn't really help us out a whole lot, $80 to pay his rent or whatever. And all I heard, and this was like 2 years ago, is about how my younger brother never paid back my older brother and what a piece of shit he is and whatever else. And, I mean, he's a single man. He's a single father who, he doesn't have to pay child support, but he takes half care of his son. And I tried to explain to my older brother, like, he doesn't have anybody to give him money like you do. Like whenever he runs into trouble, his daddy just bails him out or pays it off or helps him. But for me and my younger brother, it's just us. We don't have anybody to lean on. There's nobody to bail us out of jail. There's nobody to co-sign loans for us, you know? And he doesn't understand that. It doesn't make sense to him. Like, he needs to pay me that $80. Did you ever think that if he paid you that $80, he would lose his electricity or where he lives? Like, he literally can't squeeze out $80. You gave him $80. You should probably just, that's your brother. You helped your brother out and maybe just let it go. But he's not the type. He's the type who
just going to hang on to that shit forever.
And he forgets.
And again, these are people out there in society. And this is,
It pisses me off because people don't see each other's struggles. Like,
yep. We would rather sit there and we would rather judge somebody off of the face.
We're talking about privilege, and it's not attached to a color. As some people are more privileged than others, and you know, that's what it is it's becoming more of not just a white privilege, but some people just are more privileged than the rest of us.
And do you think that this might be why our president's a fucking fucking jackass? Like, is because of the fact that, like, his privilege has blindsided him so much?
Absolutely. I mean, he's always been all he's ever been surrounded by are yes men. And been fed he only watches what he wants to watch, and only hears what he wants to hear. And I actually read an article, I cannot say this word.
That's okay.
Linguine.
No,
it's not the pasta. It's the people who study language.
A linguist.
Thank you. I'm terrible at speaking words because growing up, I lived in New York, the Deep South, Ohio, and traveled internationally for a short time. So when I pronounce words, sometimes I'll start off with a New York accent and end up down here, y'all. And so that's why sometimes it's hard for me to...
Hold on. We have this thing. We have to know. Is it creek or crick?
It's creek. You think it's crick? Shit up the crick?
It's funny because I got called out the other day at work when I was like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. We went and played in the crick. And they're like, wait, what did you say? The crick.
Well, it's just like...
Aren't you from Hancock County? Yeah, they're like Putnam County is the only one that says crick. And I'm like,
you know, there's really neat tests that you can take online. Like, how do you say Mary, Mary, and Mary? Like, I'm going to get married, you know, like, oh, who's... Mary's the name, Mary the, like, you know, I'm getting married, and then there's another form of, like, marrying things together. I don't know. But I took it, and my boyfriend and I were only born in the same state, but I've been around the world, you know, and he hasn't. And so we both took the test, and we both had a completely different, because of the way you pronounce words. Like, I cannot say iron. I need to iron this. Is it?
Oh, now I gotta think about it.
How do you say
I need to iron the shirt. Iron.
I got it right for once.
Iron.
But I used to say iron. And I also struggle with, hold on. I gotta say it right.
I'm not laughing at speech impediments by all means.
No, this is hilarious. I mean, you can laugh at me. I mean, we're not laughing at stutterers or whatever. I'm talking about myself and how bad I am at talking. Compromise. I want to say compromise. And since I was like 7, and I don't know why certain things.
There are some things that we don't say. I don't know. I know I've been called out on a few, like crick. Salsa. But I probably also have been called out for so many years on my mispronunciation because I'm a fast speaker usually. Like I just blah, 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 blah. So when I speak things, I don't say them correctly all the time because I have to think about precipitation.
Depends. Yeah.
But like for me, it'd be like precipitation. What did you just say? Precipitation?
I did read that for podcasts, you should really try to enunciate your words. So that listeners can really understand what exactly it is that you're trying to say to them, and they're not trying to slow you down and understand it.
Peculiar. Now, is it peculiar or is it peculiar?
See, I would think it would be the second one where the IAR is more prominent, you know? But I think it's stupid when people correct each other in the correct pronunciation, like wash, I'm going to wash my clothes, or are you going to wash your clothes? You know, people have a hard R, and that's just the beautiful melting pot of America. So just shut the fuck up and let somebody. If you know, if somebody says salsa, you know it's salsa. You know what the fuck they said. Shut the fuck up and don't correct them. I like spell check
because of the Twitter feeds and the great little moments where they're like, "You're such a dick." Like, no, like you're not saying that. Like, I like those moments, but like when we're talking in real life. I mean, there are some things that I'll say and I get called out on. I'm like, okay. So what I meant to say was, but now you've gotten my whole, like, I hate when you're in that, like, when you're in a mode and you're like with a friend, you're like over bonfire and you're like a bullshit and you're talking and you're like in it, you know, like you're in that conversation and you say something ass backwards and you think that person would be a good enough person to just let it right. No. Now they're going to stop you mid-motherfucking ranting McMarrington.
Correct you. That's what I was just going to complain about. What I was actually going to get back to, this is where I was actually going to go with that, was that there was a
linguist?
That there was a team of them that analyzed Trump's speeches and things that he said over like the last 30 years, since the mid-'80s or whatever. And because they were talking about him having dementia and Alzheimer's and whatnot. And
there's something wrong with him.
There's a real concern.
In a serious mode. There's something like
they analyzed him and found that he functions at like a 7th grade reading level. The way he tweets, the way he talks in his speeches and when he talks to people. And it's downgraded. Like if you look at footage of him from like the 70s and 80s, he was a well-spoken and intelligent businessman. You know what I mean? I mean, he's still a fucking asshole, but... I mean, you know, but now he's like, many people, bigly, many people, the best people. You know, I mean, they don't make any sense, and that's why it appeals to so many stupid people.
Well,
because many is I understand many people, okay? How many people
Barack Obama ate arugula, and that made him super fucking fancy. It's fucking arugula, bitches. It's in all of the fucking shit fucking bag salads that you get from fucking Walmart. Like, shut the fuck up.
You can have some arugula too.
Yeah.
Go ahead and get yourself
By the way,
buddy.
If you go and get a bag of fucking salad mix from Walmart, it's in there.
Oh my god.
It's so shocking. I eat spinach. That doesn't make me rich, dickheads.
I think it's just upsetting how insulting Donald Trump is to 90% of this country, you know, with our immigrants and the refugees.
He's just a fucking idiot is what he is. I mean, I'm not trying to...
You know what,
like, he's a fucking idiot to no diss to idiots, because idiots are still better than what he's brought to the table. Like, what he brought and is bringing to the table.
I mean, we're the laughing
the guy's a fucking
of the
douchebag.
Fucking world right now. Like, people are making fun of us. It's embarrassing.
It's very embarrassing. And for all you Trump supporters, I mean... good for fucking you.
It's like having that asshole boss that you have to cringe for everybody else. Like, I'm sorry that he's like that.
But you take you have to take responsibility to it. And like I'm taking like you all 34% of you that like still believe in Trump.
Get over it. He won. I'm still seeing comments like that. Like, please contribute to the conversation and stop commenting shit like that on news articles.
Because then you're just an idiot like him, bigly.
Do you have some input on the situation instead of just putting, suck it up, snowflakes, he won. Yeah, we get it, he fucking won. But that's what we're upset about, and that's what we're talking about right now. Do you have input on how we can improve this country for everybody and not just 10 people? Do you? Or just the white folks?
I mean, no, because then that isn't American or patriotic. But regardless, it's getting to that evening and that time that this is super long.
Maybe
Suck it.
You can go ahead. Listen, thanks for tuning in, everybody.
We appreciate it. Donate to our Kickstarter and follow us and share us.
We're still at $5 on the Kickstarter. We might put a survey out on our website soon. I found a nice link or whatever. We might put a survey together for our listeners and would love for you. You'll find more information on our Facebook or Twitter when we do have it up. Just to take an anonymous survey if you're afraid to give back comments that might hurt our feelings or whatever. Just so that we can get a better idea of how we're doing. Because we have no idea. And we keep saying, like in our posts and stuff, like, we'd love some feedback, and nobody comments anything.
Stop being crickets.
Right, because we have literally no idea how we're doing. I mean, we see our downloads and our listeners and whatever else and our retention, but, we want to be awesome. So anyways, on that note, thanks for tuning in, guys.
Beautiful.